In this video, we're going to talk about my comfort level and how I feel with them. We're going to use them and play some Destiny on the PlayStation 4. And I'll give you some microphone tests for each one of these so you can kind of get what your kind of feel for what this mic is. And just for comparison, I'm going to compare them to the SteelSeries Arctis Wireless Pros, which are the ones that I use every single day. I have Wicked cushions on here, by the way. Shout out to Wicked cushions. These things are crazy good. If you don't have these for your headset, you should go look at them. Let's get into the review. This is the Amplagame H3. And we are unboxing this. Go ahead and see what we have inside. We have a user guide for us to be able to browse and peruse. But they're just kind of put in here. They look nice. They feel like they got a little bit of weight. You can definitely tell they're on the cheaper side just from the feel, but not a bad thing necessarily. Oh, and there's actually something in here. Oh, so there's the microphone. So it is a removable mic. Oh, a splitter cable. So you can actually take it from aux cord over to just mic and just audio. So if you want to use it for a PC, this is totally something you could do. All right, let's get the H3 out of the way. We'll go ahead and take a look at it, just kind of get a general feel. We're gonna unbox all three of them right now. So, all right, so this is the H3. You can go ahead and see, I think these have some RGB. Yes, they do have some RGB. They're just a looping RGB. There's no control for them, but they're just right here on this little smiley face, which if you've ever seen any of their Amplagame stuff, a lot of them have the smiley face. It actually is kind of cute. Condenser mic, omnidirectional, which means the mic picks up from everywhere. It's not too heavy. So this is kind of a metal right here. Feels like it. These really remind me of the Hyper Cloud 2s. Kind of interesting. Softer cushions. Doesn't feel like there's too much depth in them. I feel like your ear's probably going to rest against it. And then, like I said, there is a removable mic. So those of you looking to do that Xbox cheat where you can plug in a cable into this and use it as a microphone for your really expensive kind of microphone, you could probably do that. They seem durable. I haven't broken them yet. I'm twisting them pretty good. I should probably not do this too hard. These look closed. However, they do have some ports on the top right here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to actually tilt it or you can actually see it in the light. They have some ports right here on the top for some air to be able to escape for the drivers. And all right, let's go ahead and put them on and let's see what we have. Okay. So yeah, so the depth of the cushion is not huge. My ear's definitely touching the driver. However, it's not uncomfortable, and I have a big head. Let me just say that. They're actually not that uncomfortable. The top is nice and soft. I'm actually kind of impressed with the feeling on these. I think I could do a solid gaming session with these. These actually feel very similar to the Hyper Cloud 2s, if I'm gonna be honest. And that was my first gaming headset that I like really mained for over a year. All right, let's plug in this microphone. I think it just kind of goes in. Easy. It's bendable, it gets out of the way. One thing I wish that they had was maybe a pop filter, but when we do the mic test later, we'll see whether or not there's plosives, and I'll do a plosives test. Oh, something else that it does have is it does have an inline control right here, so it does have a volume rocker as well as a mute button for your microphone, and on the end it does have a TRRS, which is what you would plug into like your controller or to a cell phone, something like that. And then it does have a USB, so from what I've read, this will actually just plug into your computer just like a USB source. I'm going to test it and do USB just straight into the PS4 and see how it works, as well as using this onto my controller and just kind of judge how that works between those two. Obviously, plugging in with just the TRRS is not going to give you the RGB. You'll actually have to power off the USB. So just make sure you understand that. You can't power RGB through a headphone cable. All right, that's one unboxed. This is the H3. Let's get the H6 done. This is the Amplagame H6 right here. Apparently this one also has RGB. It looks like it's only a USB headset, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. All these kind of have a different look to it, so even though it's increasing in numerical reason, I think they all have a different kind of use case. We have an H6 manual right here for this headset. We'll leave that in the box, but let's go ahead and take a look at the headset. It looks like similar construction, the same kind of ratcheting feel here. I'm going to be honest, this doesn't feel as good as the H3. It's hanging up. Is the other side like that? Oh, it is. It hangs up a little bit. It does have a removable mic, which they give you, which I would assume is very similar. It looks similar. So if we put that in, that's what it is with the mic. This one has RGB as well, and it kind of has a rolling RGB, but this one has 7.1 digital. Not that the light's going to be able to pick it up, but it's basically a 7.1 digital button. Volume up and down, and then a mute switch right here. And the difference between this one and the H3 is I believe this one's USB only. So you're only going to be able to plug this into your PC or even maybe your PS4. We'll test that in a second. but you're not gonna be able to use this on Xbox because they don't support USB headsets, but that means that you're always gonna have RGB when you use this. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the fit. I don't like this, how it ratchets. If I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't feel, the H3 felt nice. This one, it might just be this model, but it's kind of weirdly clicky. All right, the cable's nice. Both of these have been braided cables and they feel nice, like they're actually premium. All right, let's put this one on. The microphone's shorter. I can go ahead and sell that. As far as fit, my ears are touching the driver again. Sometimes that doesn't bother people. It doesn't necessarily bother me that much, but as far as how it feels, it's very similar to the H3 in the fact that it is a soft top. It's not pinching my head or my glasses. Those of you who have glasses, you'll know that, you know, wearing headsets are a struggle sometimes, and it feels like it seals all the way around. I would definitely do a test when I plug in and actually, you know, play a game with them. But for right now, they feel pretty good. We'll say this one maybe feels a little firmer. That might be the wrong word to say, but the headrest and the ear cups feel a little firmer than the H3. I found it to be a little bit more comfortable. Durability wise, obviously, you know, I'm giving it a good torque, and nothing's broken, so it seems like it'll probably survive my 3-year-old. He's at daycare, so I can't hand him to him and see what's gonna happen. I like I said he was 3, he's 4, almost 5. What am I doing? I'm an old person now. Anyway, all right, so that's the H6. Cool headset. Maybe it doesn't feel as premium as the H3, and definitely is PC only, but you do get 7.1, so you can hear those footsteps. All right, the H9 is next. All right, up last is the H9, which is probably the closest resemblance to the HyperCloud 2s that I had, just based upon its shape. And I actually have used this headset once before when doing a review on another piece of hardware. And so I already kind of am familiar with maybe the headset, but not the whole piece. So let's go ahead and unbox it and see what we get inside. So we do get the headset, but there is some accessories. Oh, there is a user guide. For those of you curious, they do give you some documentation. Inside, just like the other, there's a removable headset, a removable microphone. Definitely a little different. Even resembles the HyperCloud 2 one. I keep referencing that because it's the closest thing I've used that's similar to it, because it also kind of goes in there and leaves this little piece. I'm gonna drop it all over the place, but like I said, this one's probably the one that resembles it the most, just from its form and fit. As far as usability, this one feels much better than that H6 did. Doesn't feel as good as the HyperClouds, but I don't think you're doing this a whole bunch. But it does feel nice. It grabs a spot and holds onto it. Nice soft pad at the top. The ear cushions are nice. And honestly, this is something that I really appreciate. They put L and R on the inside of the ear cup, which is not on the other ones. No, it's only on the H9s. I don't know how many times, if you have a headset, once you learn where everything goes, it's not that big of a deal. But the first few times you use a headset, you kind of think, man, which side does it go on? But the L and the R looks like it's working, you know, doing what it should be. All right, so let's go ahead and spread it out and let's put it on, see what it feels like, and then I'll adjust it. Oh, and that should be a testament. I got a big head, and look how much area you have. So you could totally wear a hat underneath this and be able to have it all the way up. As far as fit, again, my ears are touching the drivers. Comfort-wise, this is probably on par with the H6. I feel like the H3 was the most comfortable. I feel like there's not as much cushion on these pads, and it might just be, it's not the way I'm wearing it because this is normal. And it also feels like these drivers are just a little smaller, the openings. And I got big ears as well, and it's not like it's pinching or anything, but it definitely is a unique feel, if I will say that much. But this one's interesting because it also comes with a TRRS connector. Not that that's going to be able to focus. Maybe if I do that. It's a TRRS, which is a tip ring sleeve. So this has got the microphone piece on it. But it also comes with this, which also the HyperCloud 2s, I keep referencing them, guys, but they're like $100 headset, just FYI. These are less than 40. But it also has the exact same thing that you can get here, where you can actually adjust your headset volume and your microphone volume on this, a push button 7.1 surround sound, and then a mic mute. And this is how you can connect it by USB to be able to get that. But you can also just plug this directly into the controller or wherever. So this is kind of a universal thing. And then also a little clippy piece here, so you can clip it to you, so you can always have this around and near. I'll be honest, I've clipped these before on me, and almost every time I've clipped one of these on a previous headset, they've broken. So let that be what it is. So as I mentioned, I've got PS4 connected, and as you can see, I've actually got Destiny 2 loaded up. So we're gonna go ahead and connect a headset, and I'll just kind of give you my thoughts live as I'm doing it. After I do this part and tell you about how it sounds, I'll go ahead and do the microphone piece so you can hear what the mic sound like. All right, we're gonna go H3 first. It's the one, oh, these of the three are the most comfortable. I do have to say that. All right, we're gonna go ahead and plug them in, flip them in. Volume is at max, and it's obviously working. I can hear everything. Let me full screen a projector so that I can be able to hear. Okay, so we've loaded in the game. Everything's connected right now. We're just using the aux cable, the TRRS, and I think we're just gonna go load into a destination. I've got these things maxed out on volume, and they're more than loud enough. Plenty of bass, plenty of highs. It definitely feels boomy. What I mean by that is it's got a lot of presence in the bass. So I would definitely say when it comes to, you know, bass heavy stuff, it sounds boomy. Let me get landed. Let's shoot a gun. Let's see what happens. All right, we have just landed. This is the Cosmodrome. If you've ever played Destiny 2, you'll know where I am right now. This is like old Destiny 1 area. Anyway, so we've got the H3s on right now. We're connected by TRRS directly to the controller. And as far as sound, there's a lot of bass, but it's not overwhelming. I have the sound. Ooh. Oh. The every time I boost, it's got boom. It's got a lot of presence there. It might be a little heavy on the bass end, which is kind of typical with cheaper headsets. They feel like if they kind of push the bass, they kind of increase the idea of the presence. All right, let's fire a gun. I mean, I'm feeling it. I feel like I'm feeling almost like there's a rumble. Like I said, I feel like they might be a little too bass heavy. If I could tune them personally, I would probably tune the bass out a little bit, but they sound nice. Before we go to the H6, let me plug it in USB and see what it sounds like. It doesn't work USB on the PS4, but you can go ahead and see what the RGB looks like at least. So this is the H3's RGB. So I was going to say I was going to do this later, but I'll go ahead and let you hear what the headset microphone sounds like. Here's the sample of what that sounds like right now.
Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline."
So now we have the H6s connected. Here's what they are. They do have a rolling RGB. Now these I did plug into the PS4 and they connected instantly with no problem. And also here, I'll go ahead and show you on the actual PS4. Sorry, that was kind of weird. We'll go to settings and then we'll go to devices, audio devices, and it should say USB headset FIFINE. Yeah, so the H3s did not show that. It said TV or amplifier. These connected perfectly, no problem. So these will obviously connect on the PS4, which means they'll obviously work on a PC. We'll go and do an audio test with these. These are the H6s. Now I said these were less comfortable than the H3s, and I agree that they still are less comfortable than the H3s. Completely different tuning, nowhere near as boomy. This is actually really pleasant. I'm gonna be honest. This feels, oh, that feels so nice. So I could definitely, there's a lot more mids and some highs on this one. Nowhere near as boomy as the H3s. I actually find this to be a really pleasant listening experience, I'm gonna be honest. And the RGB kind of looks nice. It's subtle. It's not too much. I like the smiley face, honestly. I think it's adorable. This is one of those that has the 7.1 button. So I was actually listening to it on 7.1. Oh, what is this? Okay, so this one's unique. I have to show you this. So here is the controller, right? It's got the 7.1 button. It's got a plus and a minus for you to be able to control sound, right? That actually is adjusting the volume, which is nice. But on the side, you have the mic mute, but this side, you have an EQ button. So I have the game playing right now. I'm gonna press it. Drastic change in EQ. You get 3 different EQ settings. You also get 7.1, which does work on the PS4, which is so cool. All right, so I'm gonna run around on no 7.1, the first EQ setting, and we're gonna kind of test that out. So this is 7.1 first EQ setting. It feels like it's just a balanced preset, kind of just flat. There's nothing really pushed on the highs, and that's kind of why I said it didn't feel boomy or anything. It felt kind of natural. All right, I'm gonna turn on 7.1. Oh my God, it opens up just like what you would expect if you were using 7.1. I will say what feels like should be in front of you feels like it's at the bottom of the headset. So maybe the spatial piece doesn't line up right. Let's switch setups. We're gonna turn 7.1 off. We're gonna go to the next EQ preset. Very, very bassy now. So the second preset is bass. This sounds very similar to the H3. We're gonna go to the last EQ setting. What is this one? Feels like a mid-high push. This would be your footsteps, trying to listen to your footsteps kind of a thing. A lot of mids, and the 7.1 definitely emphasizes those mids. Maybe it's just because I have it a little too loud, but I don't find this one as pleasant as the previous ones. Still sounds nice, but doesn't sound as pleasant. Another cool thing is this one has a red mute button for when you're muted on the mic. So if I unmute, it will turn off and then mute is on. The problem is that indicator, as cool as it is seeing it on the outside, I'm gonna be honest, FIFINE, you need that on the inside. So like these right here, which is my SteelSeries Arctis Wireless Pros, that's a lot to say. The light for the mute is on the top. So as the person who's using it, you can look down and see that it's red. So there's the visual indicator. Putting it on the outside, sure, somebody else is gonna realize that you're muted, but unless you're staring at a camera, like there's no indicator light anywhere else except for on the front. So I feel like that's kind of a cool addition that doesn't really help anyone. Maybe your stream would see it, but very interesting. Let's go ahead and do a sound test for the microphone for the H6, and here's what the microphone sounds like.
Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline."
All right, let's switch to the H9s. So the H9s are plugged in. Microphone switch to headset, connect to a controller. Okay. All right, so there's no inline toggle for this one. This is just the headset connected. So this is the H9. Oh, this doesn't have 7.1 because there's no controller attached to this, like a piece like this. Okay. But so far, this is my favorite sound yet. If I'm being honest, it's not boomy, it's not negative, it doesn't sound like the mids are pushed too much, it doesn't sound like the basses are pushed too much. This feels like it's a balanced but nice, and proximity is right. So like that beacon right there is in front of me, right? As I turn around, it sounds like it's behind me, where the H6s, I felt like the proximity, the 360 feel was kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, that feels right. Now this one, if I'll pop over to the overhead so you can see, and all it has is the mute. It doesn't have those EQ options like we did in the other ones. There is no mute light like the H6. The 7.1 adds a lot more highs to give you that like presence feel, and I might have it just a little too loud, so it just kind of... Okay, the volume rocker doesn't work on PS4, by the way. Oh, and now that the volume is down with 7.1 on, this feels really good. It's a lot more highs. We're talking about like the 1K to like 6K has been pushed and like really like driven. The 7.1 is nice if you're trying to listen for footsteps and things, but I think the best sound with this is without it. At least in Destiny, in my situation, in my ears, this is it. This sounds so good. I have the 7.1 off right now, and again, I feel like this is probably the best feel of this. All right, and then no RGB with this one. Actually, this feels really comfy. I'm going to be honest after wearing it for a little bit. I think the H3 is the most comfy ones, and here is what the microphone sounds like for the H9.
Sun Tzu said, "The art of war is of vital importance to the state. It is a matter of life and death, a road either to safety or to ruin. Hence, it is a subject of inquiry which can on no account be neglected. The art of war, then, is governed by 5 constant factors, to be taken into account in one's deliberations when seeking to determine the conditions obtaining in the field. These are the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, method, and discipline."